Here I'm leaving Friday morning from Federal Mogul.
Oh.
And a girl named Helen Borderick, she says, hey, listen, I'm putting the numbers together because we're talking about all that we're doing with our new company, Tenneco. And she says, so I need some download information, and I need how many spots ran and when they ran and all that stuff. And she says, like Mike Rowe. They sponsor Mike Rowe too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know who Mike Rowe is.
Only through you telling me. I'm not overly familiar.
Yeah, he's a pretty big deal over here. He's God, Rick, what was the name of his show? Dirty Jobs. And he's got a real major passion for skilled trades, which lends itself right to me. And frankly, I've asked to interview him through Federal Mogul, but he's got millions of downloads. And so she's saying, you mean like Mike Rowe's million over here? Yes. See, I'm nowhere near there, but I have your niche audience. I have the audience that literally buys the parts, that puts them on the car, that he can talk about pulling it through. I'm pushing it through.
When did they start sponsoring Mike Rowe?
I think 9 months ago.
That could be a bit of a shit for you, that. How are we going to deal with that? We need to talk about that.
I'm going to give them the real numbers. Unfortunately, that spike that I had, I pretended that I just took a major chunk out of those spike days so that I wouldn't be too far off base. And but I'm sure Mike Rowe is charging them a ton of money.
Oh yeah, but it depends what they're paying him on. So there's a couple of things that will come up with this. Sorry, Rick, to digress a sec.
No, that's okay.
Just timely and important.
CPMs, right?
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. Like, if they're paying a CPM for that, they might want to put you on the same thing because that's standardizing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
like, come back to me, and that's what they do. Okay, great. Well, I still have that Napa thing hanging out there, and
no, I think we can do something else though with that. If you remember, like last year, just after it renewed, I said we need to start thinking about different metrics. I would consider what other metrics you have that Mike Rowe won't be able to prove. Things like your Town Hall Academy attendance, things like your positioning in the industry.
Right. And that's what my proposal even to Napa was. Even though I was asking for Napa and I'm asking for Federal Mogul to consider Remarkable Results Radio, I'm still showing them the stats and the numbers that are coming from the other shows. And that where my total impact and reach is. I'm giving them the testimonials. I'm giving them a page of testimonials from the industry. I am giving them where I'm speaking and where I'm, setting studio. So I think they're realizing that, Mike Rowe's not doing that stuff that has the impact for the industry like I am. I mean, he's just this guy that does TV. I mean,
yeah, he's too generic, isn't he?
As big as he is, he's going to charge a ton of money. I'll bet you they're going to find that if my audience for the money is more acceptable. Now, if they just look at a metrics number, they may say, well, we're not in this year. But I thinking of that over the weekend, I am going to offer them a 2-year program. I'm going to throw some stuff in it like I did for Napa.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you'd certainly play on brand calm this year on that one.
We'll see. I know. Very interesting.
Interesting. Oh, well, anyway, wins and challenges. I may as well keep with you, sir. Is that a win? Is it a challenge? Bit of both.
Yeah. It's just what I needed to do to drive to Philly Friday is to be thinking about that one.
Yeah, that's like 5 hours of thinking time.
And I got my wife in the car. I took her with me, and I says, get out the notepad, take some notes. But I had a great session.
Still got it. Romance is not dead.
Exactly. Thank God she's such a willing supporter. You want me to do what? Good session in Philly. Again, it's overwhelming to see the love and the support and the people that have just come up to me and said, I wanted to meet you. Someone walked up to the Federal Mogul booth that was there and says, hey, you're the guys that sponsor Carm's show. And the guy says, he's here. Are you kidding me? I got to meet him. So it's like those kinds of things. And so the whole brand karm thing, Mark, I got to do something really heavy with that.
Yeah, I agree.
And all my tech worked like a charm. I couldn't believe it. It was just, I was in the happiest moment. Really, it was my prelude to Apex, which 2 weeks from today, I'm on an airplane. So challenges, discussion with FM, and just preparing for Apex. It's all about getting these schedules locked down with people before I leave. So, and then my big town hall that I'm doing and all the talking points for that. And so I'm not on busy. I'm just slamming, but I'm trying to get this sponsorship thing not to pull me mentally into a funk, because I have just too many other good things going on. And I'll tell you, if that's the case and not either Napa or Federal Mogul come on board, I'll just reach out to the industry as I did to Hanvey. I haven't heard from Hanvey yet about who he knows, but I may be able to pull a Patreon thing off. I don't know.
Well, this is what I think is interesting is this version of the negotiations versus last year, they're a lot different. Your demeanor's a lot different. Your approach to them's a lot different. You've got more opportunity than you had last year. So it's a good space to be in. I think for the Patreon stuff, I would certainly look at doing that anyway. Just because it's almost why bother leaving it on the table if you can sweep it up, even if you make just a few $100 to cover Rick. It's all helping.
You really think that say for example, one day I get all shows covered, and someone says, "What the hell does he need our money for?"
I don't think people think like that, though. I think if you structure it properly, if you structure what you're giving people, what you're not doing is asking for money. You're actually giving people something back that they that is exclusive. You're not. It's not an asking for money, and it's more of a here's something I'm selling.
Yeah, but even if they, I guess the answer is ensure this doesn't go dark.
Well, and it's also how you structure the rewards. What are you going to give people at $4 a month, $10 a month, $100 a month? Oh, you just gone there. You muted yourself. Sorry, say that again.
Then I need to go to the premium side and really, and again, I think that's too long of a process to stop, get the membership site, figure out what I'm going to put behind that firewall.
Well, the Patreon stuff, if you think about it, that could be the shortcut to the membership stuff.
Yes, I understand.
It's more like the bridging. Version of it.
Yeah, anyone who's in, whenever we go premium, you're going to become a founder. Yeah,
and you might not. The interesting thing with that is it solves a problem without adding to the workload as such, because what you're not going to be doing is going full membership and creating another 200% work. What you're saying is that actually we'll get 60, 70, 80% of the revenue that a membership would bring me, but I've only got to do 30% extra more work. And it is how you structure the rewards on that one, which I think is interesting. Have a look at what John Oakes does on Trivial Warfare. If you go to trivialwarfarearmy.com, that'll take you straight to his Patreon page. And he does a great job of that one.
Trivial Warfare?
trivialwarfarearmy.com. I think that links straight to his Patreon.
Okay.
So take a look at that one. Cool, man. Well, keep me posted on everything. I want to chat on that one. Let me know you got on Federal Mogul in particular.
Yeah, we'll find out here. Frankly, I'm just thrilled. It wasn't the VP who reached out to me. It was one of his underlings who's helping pull everything together for the new company.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because it gives you a little bit of, it sounds as awful as it sounds, it gives you a bit of a way to manipulate the situation a little bit more.
I'm realizing I'm not talking to Mike, I'm talking to her. So I'm going to address my proposal to Mike and give it to her.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to do some things that I've always wanted them to do in the 2-year program, like name the studio the Federal Mogul Motor Parts Studio. I've always wanted to say I'm recording these from, the Federal Motor Parts Studio. And, they never wanted to go the next step. Well, now that there's a new company involved and they maybe like what I'm doing, hopefully, and I know a lot of people there. These may, I don't know, salt and pepper on the steak.
And do you know, interestingly, what you could do with that in the proposal, I would put a very specific and very clear what's changed since last year section, and all it is, it's a list of bullet points. Load that up as much as you can with the good shit that's happened. 2 more awards. Now going to Napa, approached by the most disruptive startup in the industry to be a sponsored partner, the Repair Pal guys. Start to all these little things, just put them into a boom, 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 boom. They're the jabs that you can put in there. Because you want to be able to say, I was here, now I'm here. You'd be silly not to get on this train because look what I've done in 12 months. What am I going to do the next 12 months?
It's a great idea, Mark. I've got all of that out there, but I've got them in different chunks. And I like the idea of bringing them up into a, by the way, what's changed since last year bullet. That's great. Yeah. Great idea. Thank you.
Cool, man. Thank you very much.
I got my money's worth. I'm leaving.
See you later. Cool, man. Rick, how you doing, man? I'm going to come to you. What's the week been like?
It was a good week. Let's see what's going on. Well, I went to Portland, which was great. I got some insights on speaking at colleges and universities, which was good. I saw my friend Mike speak, which was great. Mm-hmm. I actually have 2 fairly solid college leads out of the 4 that started to come through, so we'll work on those this week. Then my meeting with Drew went really well. We decided we're going to start this thing as a mastermind rather than trying to go out and suddenly bring it into businesses. We're going to see if we can't put together a year-long mastermind of guys that want to be involved in this and then use that to feed the funnel up going into their businesses, which I think is a smart move. So we got a lot done on Thursday, really worked through the program, outlined really the funnel of what it would look like to do a 12-month program. So today we're meeting to start talking about the marketing of it and all that good stuff. So we want to try to launch it by January. And he's pretty aggressive on sales, so it's kind of nice to have that kind of partner. And then I'm really more on the creative side, so all good there. And then another win. One of my my article for Good Men Project went up. Got actually featured in their mail out of articles best of. So that was great. And then they turned around and invited me to be a weekly contributor. So
nice, man. Well done.
Yeah, thinking about that one, that's when I got kind of stifled last time, was when I had to produce something weekly, but I feel like I can actually do that. As long as I don't have any others that I'm trying to do that for, unless I find one other really good one, but I think that's where my target audience is. So definitely leaning into that. So that's kind of where I am. I don't feel really super challenged right now, just because I think things are starting to click. I think the only challenge would be, as I keep looking at what I got to do, is deciding which things make the most sense to do at this stage in the business, and which things I can go, okay, that needs to go set aside. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Good, man, and well done on the article. It was a very good post. It felt more naturally you, and you felt like you weren't hiding behind anything. That you were saying what you actually thought, which was good. Not sitting that for a while in the content, so that's good, man. Well done.
Thanks.
Really good stuff. What else? There was something else I was going to have to say to you, and I can't remember what it was. That was it. It was a follow-up with the work. So just in my mind. So the workshop that you did, that you gave a 7 out of 10 a couple of weeks ago, that's the thing you turned into the mastermind in the short term. Have I got that right, or is that?
Yeah, actually, that is something that was really interesting. So when I got, Drew and I hadn't had a chance to talk about what happened when I did it at the college. And so when I sat down with him, I said, here's something that came out of this. The 3 things the guys said they needed was connection, communication, and confidence. And so that now has become the basis of the Naked Men Leading mastermind that we're doing, is we're basing everything around that. And because we feel like that's actually what most men struggle with the most, is being able to communicate, to connect, with other people, whether it's other men or women or in workplaces, and then the confidence to do the things they say they're going to do. And so we built everything off of that. And then the 12-month program really focuses on 12 values: being fearless, transparent, vulnerable, intimate, empathetic, caring, collaborative, inspiring, empowered, acting in integrity, delivering quality, and achieving results. So there's more to it, which I may share with everybody as we said those were the values, and then we took it into actions, and then we actually created very, very guide-driven modules out of that with some pretty funny names like Going Commando is the transparency module. Vulnerability is My Farts Do Stink, and stuff like that, to make it fun, to make it stuff that guys are going to go, okay, I get it. So yeah, it's amazing. If nothing else, quite honestly, comes from the college and university market, then that one bit of insight to possibly launch this bigger program for these guys, which then launches hopefully something into doing this in some other markets, it will have been well worth the time I spent doing the one college program, even though I've got some others lined up. The other thing that did come out of that is I'm reworking the college program right now for 2 of the schools. So I feel really good about what happened here locally, because it really informed me for the future.
Good. That's good news. And it's good that you seem to be working on developing that, which I think is quite not just a mindset shift for you, but I think a lot of people would generally take a program and rather than thinking, do you know what, let's make that into a mastermind and then see how it goes, a lot of people would hammer forward with it. It wouldn't sell because it wasn't quite right, and then it would just be deemed as failing. Right. So I like that you've got that approach, man. I think that's a sign of where your head's at as well. It's a much more positive way to do that.
Well, and as I even thought of this in my own business, I could see me taking this same concept and doing mini masterminds for very targeted groups for me, just like a group of, gay men. We're going to do this, 4 months, 6 months, whatever it is, mastermind, and I'm going to take the same stuff, condense it down, and offer it out at a much lower price than what he and I are looking at. He's used to launching big programs, so I mean, we're going big.
Good.
We went with a $10,000 a year price tag for this thing, so $1,000 a month.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think
no,
and I don't think it's a hard sell either. I think to sell $1,000 a month program, you don't even need big players in that group, because $1,000 a month is something that's affordable for many, many people.
Right. And it involves a lot. I mean, it's one mastermind call a month, 2 individual sessions with either Drew or I, and 2 live events, one in February and one in September. So
it actually feels a bit cheap, to be fair. I think you could put that up.
And that's kind of why we're having this conversation this afternoon of, do we need to do, we kind of need to define where it is. So, but out the gate, we both kind of agree that if we can do this and it works, then we just replicate it again and again. Our goal is, if we could get, our big stretch goal is to get 30 guys enrolled. If we can hit 20, we'd be like ecstatic. 10 would be the minimum, but at least this will be kind of our way of workshopping this sucker. So
yeah, I like that, man. And you're right. I'm always a fan of small-ish mastermind groups that are high ticket but super focused, because I think you can, if you've got 4, 5, 6, 7 of those, you're actually spending a day a week doing them, maybe a day and a half. And it becomes a bit more scalable than like coaching or whatever. So well played, man. I think that's excellent work. Really good stuff. Well done. I'm really pleased on the article. Go, Cam.
Mark, when you say 30, if your goal was 30, $1,000 a piece, $300,000, I think that's kind of the range. Are you guys, is Drew committed to do a portion of these so that you guys aren't overwhelmed? Is that it?
Oh yeah. We're splitting this down the middle. Yes. So when we say we're going to, when it's like, 2 coaching sessions a month, I will do one, he will do one. And we will let the guys know you're going to get both of us. We're going to take turns.
What if you get 30? I'm just curious. If you get 30, if you hit your goal.
Yep.
then are all 30 aren't in one class? You'll split
No. We're going to split them up into 3 groups of 10.
3 groups of 10. So that you'll be doing 3 groups of 10 twice a month.
Yep.
Wow, it's a big load, and
it is a big load. But we're both trying to fill it up so that we can do this with the funnel, with the purpose of how can we then funnel. So, and we're still working it out. It may end up being we do 3 groups of 10 and they get one, they get the mastermind call, and then they get 1 coaching session. We're trying to figure out
all right. I'm just curious from the point of, will you be able to handle it and still do all your other stuff?
Well, and part of it, Carm, is I'm trying to decide what that other stuff is. I'm to the point where this college market stuff is more, it's a lot of work to get a gig.
Yeah.
So if I can spend my time more effectively doing something else and bringing in the money, and then
but it'll come. But like me, if I started out being on the college gig or whatever speaking gig, I would have not done it if I did not have the base that I've been working off of, like you. I think that stuff will start coming. All my curiosity is that could you handle it? And then to Mark's point, when you put these, you said you were going to have 2 live one-on-one or live events?
Yeah, 1 in February and 1 in September.
And included in the price?
Yep.
They'd have to just pay their own way to get there and where they're going to stay.
Yeah, exactly.
Very affordable.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, a conference, you're going to pay $300 or $400 or $500 to register for a conference.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Good work. We can delve into that as well as if we need to a little bit later, because I think it's interesting.
And I just posted it. Mark's seen the article, but I just posted in our Mastermind Slack the article that got put up on Good Men Project.
Oh, great.
It is a good one, dude. Very good. What are you going to actually just finish off on that? How are you going to follow that up this week then? Are you going to follow that one up, or are you going to do something totally separate?
It's a good question. I'm trying to think what I want to do next. I don't know, because that one's very pointed in a certain direction. And I'm trying to figure out where is the leap off, because I could go so many directions right now.
Well, the reason I asked that was because this is an opportunity to strongly position yourself.
Yeah.
So I would pick one angle and stick to it, but think about what we talked about before, which is what do you want to be known for? That's
why I'm hesitant right now to say a particular thing, because I don't want to get too far down this road of toxic masculinity, because I don't want that to be what I'm known for, so to speak. I want to be known more for helping men be who they want to be. But I think within that is this toxic masculinity piece of how do you now, how do you manage your own masculinity to avoid this?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So that's why I'm not answering the question. I'm trying to figure out what is the next best direction, and what is it I really want to be known for.
And the men and masculinity stuff is definitely the thing that you seem to be fired up about, and it seems to be the saleable piece.
Yeah, I mean, like one of the articles I was thinking about writing is what gay men can teach men about masculinity.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of in the same realm then, because I can take a leap off of this article, which came from, I knew these people because I was coming out as a gay man. So I don't know, I'm going to spend some time. I've got stuff going all the way through this afternoon, but tomorrow is my blog day, and I'm going to look at it and go, okay, what are the different ways I could leap off of this?
Good. Yeah, good thinking. And keep an eye on that big picture. You know that, but just keep an eye on that big picture of, okay, is the men and masculinity thing something I want to be doing? And because you can use that to just, like you said, you're tying all these threads together that you previously had, bringing them together into this next thing that will see you through the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Good work, man. Well played. Really good. I was going to go to Andrea, but I don't know if she's been kidnapped. It's like Halloween, the sequel. Andrea's back.
I'm back.
She's back. Escaped the Michael Myers. Phew, that's a win. I watched that last night. It really is still very good. Anyway, how's the week been, Andrea? What's been going on?
All right. Well, I got your message to me, so I need some more data about that because I have my meeting right after this.
Okay, no, that's good.
With the designer. And that's my big thing. I got to nail that down. I'm working with my girl Marge on a workshop, and we'll pick that up on Friday. This past Friday was her 60th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
So she couldn't make it. I also posted another article that I repurposed from Positive Psychology onto Medium. And my challenge is, I'm starting to feel really good, but I find sometimes I'm taking on too much. So I was pretty fatigued on Saturday, so I had to just say, done. So that's the thing, just managing what is enough and what's too much and figuring out what that line is.
Mm-hmm.
Related to my health, because I can't afford to go down again. And it's a demand between school and family and this.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm setting the boundaries, but it's still, when school's on, it's just crazy. It's harder. So that's me in a nutshell.
Well, that makes sense. How are you feeling about the design side of things? I know that obviously that was a bit of a setback with Kirsten last week, but it felt like it was probably the right call to move off that one. How's that feeling now? Are you?
I'm totally fine with it. I'm ready to get going. So whatever that is, like, I don't want to bring this person, to a certain degree without knowing. I didn't really understand what you were telling me in Slack. Like, I don't know what that looks like. So I don't know what to tell her, or like when can we decide what that is or what that looks like.
What do you mean? Sorry, I'm not quite following that.
Oh, you sent me a message saying we could run this through and we've figured out what this is going to look like, and we have the designers, we have the pricing. So that was the last message you sent me, and I don't know anything more, and I have my meeting at 12.
No, I sent you one hours ago. I don't know if you saw that one.
No,
I sent you one hours ago this morning with the pricing in there. Let me. I can probably force a notification through. Give me a second.
I'll look at it. Don't worry about it. I'll look at it then.
There you go. It's only a couple of liners, but it just gives you the pricing and stuff. But we'd finalized all that out. So we've got, I think for the branding stuff, we're gonna have two options. We're gonna have like a base logo, which is pretty much what Kirsten was doing when it was just the logo stuff. And we're gonna use my standardized approach, which we will not do like 3 to 5 variants. It'll just be, we'll do a really good brief and deliver one really good logo. And then we've got the other option, which is like a bolt on, like an add-on, which is okay if you want the brand guidelines, if you want like the typography setting, the color schemes, the palettes, all the stuff that I showed you last week, basically.
Okay.
So there's 2 levels of it. So we know that some people will just be like, nah, I just want a quick logo. So have a look at that in Slack, and we can always talk through that on Slack if there are any questions. But yeah, that makes sense. So we'll look at that, and like I say, you don't have to use our stuff at all. We'll be putting that out anyway. So just see what you think. Take a look at it, and we can always talk about that.
Yeah.
What about the production stuff? How are you feeling about doing some of the production stuff in terms of like the content, producing the content? How are you feeling with that, with audio, video, kind of writing?
I think I'm definitely down with the writing piece, and I think building that out, and then also doing audio and video. I assume video would be part of it. So I think if I just chunk it and do one at a time, I can't. If I think of the whole thing, it's overwhelming to me.
Yeah, I get that. I can probably share actually a little bit around over the next few weeks. I'm going to be putting a lot of new content together for my stuff over the next few months, ready for a January launch. I can probably, one of the things that I'm just finalizing is some of the video content. So I can. I don't know
how you do it. You're like a machine.
Well, it's just systems really. So I can talk about that because it does feel quite overwhelming. But like what I've done with mine is just broken the content out into these different buckets of content. So like say you need 52 videos. I've got 4 categories of video that I want to do. Actually, it turns out I only need 13 of each. So it becomes a little bit easier. And then what I'm going to do with that is probably repurpose them into a blog post. So it becomes, that's the blog post done. So there are a number of kind of little techniques we can use to just make sure that you're not overwhelmed by it, but that you can still be quite prolific.
I like that.
Yeah,
being prolific, that is.
We could, exactly, and efficient. We can talk about that when I've gone a bit. I'm going to work on it tonight, actually. So I might put that into a session, actually. So good. Well, that's all right. At least moving forward. And last thing I want to ask you is tell me a little bit about that workshop with Marge as well. Bring that out a little bit more.
We're still fleshing it out. The good news is that they extended the deadline to apply. So I just have to get the parameters. But this one that I'm going to do is in Nice, France, if they accept it. And it's for the global appreciative inquiry community. And the folks in Nice are putting on this one. The previous one was in South Africa.
Wow.
And the folks from South Africa will be there. And so that's pretty cool. And I think she's going to take some of what we're working on and she's going to present in Cancun in November.
Nice.
I can't pull off Cancun, but Marge is amazing. The woman just had a knee replacement. She's got an 85-year-old husband that requires her care, and she's still a rock star. And
Wow.
she refuses to refer to herself as my mentor. We are learning partners, and she's very adamant about that. And one of her special interests is intergenerational learning. So this is really cool for me. And she's a global thought leader. Like, probably if I missed the deadline, she would be able to say, put this in, she's that big.
Wow. That's good. Cool. Well done. Good partnership. Good to come from the last couple of months as well. Cause you've been traveling around a lot. It's nice to be able to settle back into that and get a bit of a rapport going with Marge. So well done. I think that's really good.
Yeah. And it's all based on family. Like that's our thing. And the other big news was that, David Kuberreiter, who is the founder of Appreciative Inquiry, he just met at the UN in Switzerland, and they're working on education. So it's going to get more traction. That whole thing I just did is going to get more global traction. So it's pretty exciting to watch it unfold from the ground up.
And it's good to be an early publisher in that space as well.
Yeah.
Because you'll get a lot of good equity in your personal brand through association there.
Yeah.
So that works really well. Good. Making the moves as normal.
Trying.
Yeah, really good stuff. Cool. Well, shoot me a message on Slack and we can talk about those bits just as and when we need to. That's all good. There's no rush from our side. So one of the things I wanted to chat about, which will maybe be a little bit more pertinent for Rick and Cam, because you've got a kind of a back catalogue. But Andrew, I think it's useful for you when it comes to planning some of the content. One of the exercises that I went through a while ago, and I'm probably due to do again, was just go back through the analytics stuff that we've got, some of the data stuff that we've got, and basically go and optimize old things for new opportunities. So what that means is that, for example, it was only a quick fix today, actually. I need to do a little bit more of a job on it. But periodically what I'll do is I'll find, okay, what's the best performing couple of blog posts that we've got? And look at them over a period of time. It might be a year, it might be 2 years, it might be whatever that period is. And then I'll go back and optimize those for the calls to action that we've got as at today. So things like the Academy, go and join the free tier of the Academy and so on and so forth. Which kind of then leads me into this bigger content audit stuff that I tend to do every year. And I'm just about to do one. I've just dropped my spinner. I'm just about to do one, probably on my own stuff and probably on the podcast website stuff as we ramp up to some of the bits. And the intention of this is to go back through this back catalogue and figure out actually what's working, what's not working, but also what's potentially damaging. Like what is potentially letting me down, and then go and fix that sort of stuff. So I'll use you as the example because you've got the most prolific library of content. But a typical exercise would be every year, go through the content that you've got, literally export everything into a list or make a list, or do something where you pull a list together of all the different types of content, and start to do a number of things with that content. For example, if you think about the business that you're trying to create, and think about what you want to happen with that. You want someone to come into your ecosystem, and you want them to be consuming your content, and you know that they're going to go off to consume other content somehow, somewhere, some way. What we've got to do is make sure that as much of that content that they want to consume is within your ecosystem. So again, Calm, best example. Someone comes in, and we know that if they're coming on a more recent episode, they've probably got a number of ways to do what you want them to do. Can we be sure that the back catalogue is supporting today's goals? So can we be sure that, okay, one, we're keeping them in this ecosystem that we've got, but number two, are all the calls to action right? Are we sending them to the right place? Are we making them see what else is going on? But also, are we sure that all the links are going to the right place? This is really basic stuff, and it sounds so simple, like, yeah, we know about linking. But the point is that I think the brands online that do it well, they don't have to be big brands, are actually going through and doing a good quality exercise on this. Well, they've said, you know what, actually, even this article might be damaging me, so I'm going to delete the thing. And I'm going to put a 301 redirect on that to send them to somewhere else, which might be another article that's kind of in the same space on my own website, or send them somewhere else on my website, send them to my Facebook group to discuss, for example. So being really picky about filtering out, because what tends to happen is, and Andrew, I'll use the best example for this one, is that you start life in positive psychology, and then you start life in appreciative inquiry. So you start here, and you're doing positive psychology. So you start creating a lot of content about that thing. And then you move into AI, and you start creating a lot of content about that. And then suddenly somewhere on the line you develop, and you bring all these things together into this new thing. And you start creating content that you want to be known for. And this is what Rick's going through at the moment. You start then producing the actual content. And it's only after 18 months, I think, that you start to create the content that you really want to create, because the rest of it is like seeing what sticks and serious, all the other stuff. Some of this stuff in the past could actually be quite damaging, because people see that might be their first possible ever experience of you, and it's suddenly, actually, that's Andrea, she's in positive psychology, and it's for mums. Whereas if you fast forward, actually it's not. It's using AI and positive psychology techniques for the betterment of kids and to help them have a better life. It just so happens we've not figured that out then. We knew what we wanted to do, but we'd not quite figured out how to message it. So I think there's a big exercise that everyone should book into their calendar each year, to just have a day, half a day, 2 days, whatever it takes, to go through and say, actually, is all my content still on track? Is it damaging my brand? Is it sending people to the right place at the right time? And does it really randomly, like, does it still sound like me? You know, and that could be podcast episodes where you re-record them, or you re-edit them, you recut them. You know, you remaster them, you change, like Cam, in your instance, actually, episode 10 might be a great interview, but the audio might be off. Go back and you just tighten it up, because each one of these things might be the first time someone's come across you. Taking that on a little bit further, what it then allows you to do, and this is really the main reason for doing it, is that more often than not, you'll only ever see one of two things when it comes to results. So let's assume that you want to build your email list. That is never going to stay the same. Like, the quality of that, or the number of signups that are coming in, it will never stay the same. So it's either going to go up or it's going to go down. It's never going to stay the same. It's impossible, because there'll be variances, there'll be traffic coming in differently, and so on. It'll never stay the same. So what you've got to do is then make sure that actually all this massive content that we've got, we've trimmed up all the fat, we've got rid of all this stuff, and we've made it really high quality stuff. Now, if the traffic stays the same and my email list signups don't go up, for example, there's something broken in the middle. So it becomes part of this wider kind of content audit where you say, well, I've trimmed my content down from this great big wide thing to this really narrow focus. Or I can be sure that everything across the board has got a good quality call to action to the same place. So I fixed that bit. But now this bit at the bottom, the actual results I want, Cam, in your case, actually, it might be downloads. So you know now that with the new stats, we've got the raw download request, then we've got your IAB compliant stats. Based on our chat last week, by the way, we're going to be building a gap analysis tool, which we're going to be doing for the new hosting stuff anyway, but I'm going to bring it forward a little bit. So you might think, well, actually, I've got all my content, it's really, really good, but for some reason, this one number that I want to push up isn't going up. You can then see which bit is broken, because you're not saying that this content doesn't work, because it does work. You might have trimmed, you might have gone through your Google Analytics and got rid of everything but 15 articles that are your highest performing articles, and everything else wasn't getting anything. So you've trimmed it right down to just these amazing articles. So why is this number not going up? Why are my downloads not going up? Why are my email list not going up? And it means that you can then say, well, actually, maybe my lead magnet's not good enough. Maybe the thing that I'm asking people to do isn't clear enough. And I think if you can get into the habit of doing that and almost making it like a quarterly thing. Oh, that's all right, Andrea. See you soon. Good luck. Better go through. Yeah, the point I'm getting to is that what most people do is they'll take something that they've had for 3 to 5 to 10 years and just say, well, that's my library, that's my archive. I'll leave it up there. But again, Rick, if you're looking to reposition yourself, there is an exercise that needs to happen where you go away and you filter some of the stuff that's going to be maybe damaging, or maybe pigeonholes you, or maybe puts you in a different light. So there's kind of an exercise there. Cam, were you going to say something, sir? No, I thought you put your hand up, or were you just waving to Andrea? So you guys are in a good position to do this. Rick, I think there's an interesting exercise for you where you go back through the content and actually, so if you imagine, like in my opinion, over the last 2 years, you're becoming more uncloseted yourself. You're doing what you do and you're becoming more comfortable. Your mindset's changing, you're developing, the confidence is growing and growing and growing, and like it's not got a ceiling to it, so you'll keep getting more confident. So the way you're writing now, this new stuff versus how you were writing, is maybe the old stuff is maybe not reflective of who you are now, but that could still be the first entry point for many people. So it's sort of is there any low-hanging fruit in going back through the analytics that you've got on your site and saying, these things get really good, they get really, really good traction, they get decent engagement, but no one does anything. Like, I'm not getting any customers from them. I'm not getting my email list built from them. Can you update them? Can you go back and rewrite the article? Keep it on the same URL, but do it with today's tone of voice. So I think you guys should be looking at doing this, but albeit for different reasons. Rick, from a positioning perspective, Cam, a little bit from a positioning perspective, but number 2, really for you, like your calls to action have changed. On episode 10, you're not sending people off to Town Hall Academy because it just didn't exist, So that's the thought for the day. It's something that I think everyone needs to do. So I'm going to throw that in and get your thoughts on it.
No, it's a great point, Rick, Mark. When I've changed the show notes pages a lot since the early days, and I've not gone back to do any of that fixing, if you will. And yeah, I mean, sure. You're saying is you've evolved. Will the old content reach that level of evolvement? And you're right. I got to go back and take a look at some of that stuff. But as I've created different tags and different series, again, my series look like they're different shows, but they're really not. It helps people, here's the technician. Go out and listen to all the technicians. I threw them all under a category called, technician talk. Did I go back and do any of that earlier stuff? Pretty much I did. I wanted to drag everybody up and through, but maybe I missed something or two. And maybe the link to listen to all the other technicians are not in the old episodes, because I'm trying to make the visit to my site so interactive and so easy that when someone does go to a show page, then they can listen to the people's previous episodes here. If they've been on an academy or they've done a roundtable with me, even though they had a single interview with me, I still want to go in and click. It's a great project for Rick, actually, to go back and do a search on a person's name and then see in that show notes page if we don't have the link to the other ones in the older pages, then we need to go out and match them and build them. And
yeah. And actually, to that point, it's also, remember, it's also an interlinking thing. So, I mean, there's two additional things with your library that are quite interesting. And let's assume that you do add the Patreon link. You know, you could have a snippet of text that you add, and you go back right through the library, and you add it right in the middle of the show notes. And it's a nice, big, stylized call to action. Love the show. Be a part of the show. Here's our Patreon link. And you go back and you do it through all 300 and something shows. But what you've also got is you've also got an opportunity with Town Hall and the speaking and the pictures and everything else that you've got. So because you've got Rick the VA involved, what you could easily do, and this is where I think these content audits become interesting, is think back to that ecosystem. You want people to remain in your ecosystem. So if you've had someone on your podcast as an alumni guest, why not find the Town Hall Academy episodes they've been on as well and stick those in the old show notes? And likewise in the Town Hall Academy, you bring those links in to the episodes.
I do that, Mark. But I don't do that individually. Mm-hmm. In their bio, it says, listen to Mark's previous episodes. Mm-hmm. And it pulls For the Record, Town Hall Academy, and are all together under one search.
And if you do that, if you were to go back and do that the other way, so I'm assuming that's linking to like a search. If you go back and stick them just as a passive exercise for Rick, like, you know, when you're quiet, when you've got nothing to do, spend an hour doing this, and just go back and fill the back catalogue of show notes up with a direct link to the Town Hall Academies. I know it seems like a lot of work, and it is, don't get me wrong, but the ongoing search benefits of that and that ecosystem benefit of it, and especially if you build a future system as well. Yeah.
Well, a year ago, I started to put these links in the show notes page, and you're right. I probably didn't reach out beyond that. And it was just because I was a solo artist here.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's why I always recommend doing it every year, because it's very easy to forget and just be like, well, you know, it's fine. We've got.
Oh, you're right. It's really a great point, and it probably a great project for Rick.
Yeah, definitely
something he can't screw up.
Oh, what's happened this week?
It's good. I never got his invoice till Wednesday. Remember I told you?
That means he's had like a fair to bad week then. If you got it on a Friday, you know he's had a bad week. Your goal should never be to get an invoice on a Friday.
Unbelievable. Oh, God.
Good Lord. That's not good. Oh, well. Yeah, Rick, from your side to that point, I think yours is much more of a positioning thing. And because you've got so many podcast episodes and so many pieces of blog content, it's almost is there an opportunity to go back through your library? And I've done this myself before, where you go back and you take a piece that you know was a good idea, but that if you were to write that piece today, you would execute it differently. Because remember that what you're trying to do is you're trying to think new ideas all the time. If you go back through the catalogue, actually rewriting something you've done, but in today's tone, it gets you a number of quick wins. You can literally just republish it as at today's date, keep the same URL, keep everything, but you're rewriting it with a much better tone. So there might be an exercise there. If you've got to get into this weekly content generation mode, there might be something in doing that content audit and actually having that list and going through and doing it. It's a lot of work, but I think it is interesting. One thing I want to talk to you about, Cam, and again, Rick, I think this is probably pertinent to you, but I think you're maybe a little tighter on it, is we talked about building brand Calm up. And part of this content audit, as I've been thinking about it, ready to talk about today, was the calls to action. So I think there's probably an exercise for you to go through around kind of like repositioning over the next 15 months, maybe the next year or so, where you're just saying, okay, look, what do I actually want people to do? Because if we want to build this brand Calm, we've got to be able to prove, as we can see with the numbers changing, we need to be able to prove a different type of number that doesn't rely on necessarily downloads. And what is that? Is that website traffic? Is it email list signups? So certainly having more ways for people to trust in you and then jump on an email list or jump in a private something or set up a little mastermind, some way of being able to make brand Calm tangible. Just like Rick's got his email list, what can we do to make that more tangible? And in particular for you, I've been considering this in quite a little bit of depth, which you've got an interesting challenge in that you are remarkable results, the business, the media, brand. You're actually in a really fortunate position because you've got a lot of yourself that you can give to that brand, which could generate a lot of buzz. You know, if you start putting an hour a week into something that is office hours on a Facebook group or free coaching like I do on a Friday, that's just you can gain a lot of equity very quickly. So part of that content audit should be actually, is all my back catalogue funnel into this new thing? And I think you've got a really interesting challenge, but a very fortunate position to be able to add something really low time investment, but really high impact, which might be like what you did, Rick, with turning up on the Facebook Lives or doing the rants and riffs like you do. Cam, just start thinking about that. What can you do to prove a different number? Oh, you muted. Oh, I'll unmute you. There we go.
One of the things that I did Saturday morning is I did this really quick Carmcast, and I think so far it's had like 500 views. And I basically took the people that pulled off Super Saturday, and I took another guy who owns a shop, and he's kind of a trainer guy, and I sat him down and I broadcast live for 15 minutes, and it was really, hey, we're here, where are you? We're here, where are you? In concept. And I also put some interesting challenges out to these guys as to why aren't there more people here? What's wrong inside the industry? Who's not coming? Who's here? We're in Philadelphia. There's millions of people here. This should be standing room only. It wasn't a bitch session. It was a comment on the fact that this great stuff, people from all over the country, trainers are here. And here's what you're missing, by the way. Mm-hmm. When I was all done with it, I started to realize that these Carmcasts, if you will, and maybe that's not the name of them, maybe that is the perfect name for it, should be done more often as I even rant on something for 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I think
rant on what's coming up and slowly start building this whole thing up, maybe as an umbrella to the type of content. And I got a chance to talk about content, and I got a chance to talk about what's coming up, and I got a chance to tell you some behind the scenes on a certain interview that I did.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a very interesting position that you're in. And I think Rick as well could do something in this space where it's commentary on your niche, and that's all you have to do is turn up and just give a weekly my view on the news session. Like, that is the lowest hanging of all content. It's easy. You turn up and you talk about what has gone on this week, but you overlay your knowledge, your expertise, your experience, your opinion, everything that goes alongside that. But the really cool thing with that is that that's the kind of thing that positions you as the person of having an opinion that matters, because you're the one that turns up and does it every week. And it doesn't need to be much. And like you said, Cam, you top and tail it. You do 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. And at the beginning, it's basically behind the scenes. Like, oh, yeah, I was talking to Tom from Federal Mogul and XYZ. And then at the end, it's, okay, what's coming up on remarkable results? So it serves a number of purposes. The one thing that I've seen, and Rick, this plays a little bit more to your space as well, is that there are very few people willing to step up and actually grab the top position, because they're too busy doing the day and working through the day that they just forget that all they need to do to actually take the top spot and be the person in the industry is audit all the content, is make sure the message is really tight, and then just consistently go out and deliver opinions on that industry. That's all you need to do. That's why Gary Vee does what he does, because it's just, I am the fucking hustle guy. And that if I do something every day that says that, more and more people will believe that I am that guy. And that's why, Rick, I think it's great that you've got that column. And it's sort of like, what can you use that as leverage? Can you just turn up on a Friday and do 30 minutes where it's like, my opinion on the Kavanagh shit, my opinion on this thing, my opinion on this. And just, I think there's a mindset challenge, which is, it's all right for me to publicize my opinion.
Know what I just thought of, and thank you for that whatever it is that happens when I'm on these things. I'm the guy, and I've always said, what do you do? And I said, well, I connect aftermarket professionals and I get their stories told. Okay, 30-second elevator speech. And I just wrote down, I'm the guy that connects aftermarket professionals. That's That's why I would have a Carmcast. That's why I would talk about people that I've known, people that I've met, places that I'm going, things that people are saying behind the scenes on the show. Do a retro. Did you guys remember listening last year to blank and we were talking about this? It seems so apropos today. Maybe we were ahead of our times. You need to be on that. I mean, there's so many, it's like you're right. So much the library is so thick, it's so heavy. The things that I have coming up, it's people are writing to me saying you should have these people on your show. You should do a topic like this.
Yeah, exactly. It acts as a way of doing customer research as well. We've put together a call system, like you and I did. We spoke on a call about the stats. That gives you a lot of feedback. So, like you said, you can get a lot of like, were we ahead of our time? Should we revisit this? Should we not? Should we? And the really cool thing with that is that this is kind of why I want to talk about this approach. Because if your goal is to build the gap in numbers that you're going to see on your downloads between actual downloads and raw download requests, you've got to bridge that gap. Well, what better way of doing that than actually asking people, tell me what you want a little bit more of, and then we restructure the beginning to get the first minute download X, Y, Z, and suddenly the numbers are a bit easier to get because people are saying, well, if you did this, I would hang around.
So let me tell you what my problem is. Every time I think of doing this, I'm going to say, well, Wednesday at 1:00, I'm going to go and I'm going to go Facebook Live. I'm going to do this. Somehow I find an excuse, Mark. And then I watched the replay from Saturday and I said, God, I'm really good at this shit. And I realized what my problem was. My problem is I'm really good as an interviewer and a facilitator, but I don't have the confidence to be the lone guy.
Yeah.
Right now.
It's a difficult one.
That's what I got to do. Just like when I flipped the mic and recorded my first episode and not knowing where it was going. And today I love it with a passion to do this. I've got to get over that hump and I've just got to force myself to do this.
It's not easy to do that, but I think that's what Rick does really well, willing to put yourself out there and do that. And I think you're now, Rick, at that next stage where you're comfortable doing that. It's now just about really unapologetically owning the opinions. And that's why I think, even though we started today with a content audit concept and we've honed it into this consistency piece, actually, Cam, you're in a really good position because you've got 300 and something episodes you can have an opinion on. Rick?
Absolutely. Yeah. But you know what? You know what I'm afraid of? I don't know, Rick, has this ever happened to you? So there's this confidence of just being able to be good by myself. And the other thing, and not play off someone. And the other thing is do I have to over prepare? I don't, it's one more thing. Let me throw it on the pile. I can't get into the studio unless I've got 50 pounds of notes.
It's
to me, well, it's the way I do a lot of stuff, but the solo ones are the ones, actually, I don't even prepare that much for my regular ones. I know like I'm getting ready to do one in an hour. I haven't even started preparing. I know what we're going to talk about. It's a guy who specializes in body language. And so I know him, I know what he's about, but I'm like, okay, so how do I want to translate this into a podcast today? Well, how do I help men become, how do I help people in general, but how do I help men do the stuff they want to do? They need to start watching people's body language, because when you can look and understand somebody's body language, then you know how to communicate. Then you know how to connect. Then when you want to do this thing you say you want to do, you start watching people and you know when you can propose it to them, when you can talk about it. I guess I know for me, that's what I'm really good at, is I'm good at spontaneity. And so even when I record my rants and riffs, I just spend like a few minutes before I go on and think about, okay, what is it I want to say today? What is that thing I want to talk about? And I'm going to probably record a rant and riff right after this one, since I'm going to already be down in the studio. But I'm thinking, well, what would it be? What would it be? And I actually think I'm going to take this conversation and go, the thing that holds you back most from doing the thing you want to do is sometimes you got to go back and look at all the old stuff you did and look at what you can bring forward. What can you do from the past? How can you take something and say, it's time for that to go away? And then you step into your brilliance, because sometimes we don't have to rework anything, or maybe sometimes we do have to rework something. But that rework can often be easier than let's go do something new. Actually, nothing new has to be done if we look at what we've done in the past.
And I think it's developing those you know, that's both from your brand perspective, but also from a physical how to do this perspective. A lot of people struggle for the new ideas and what do I talk about if I want to position myself differently? It's just having an opinion on something that's yours. That's all it is, and that opinion will change and develop as facts change, as the world changes. You know that, and all you need to do to start, like with you, Cam, you know, getting in front of the solo mic, is just have an opinion. Instead of using the person as the thing to bounce off, you use the facts, or you use the interview, or you use the other content as the thing to.
Yeah, I got to do a breakaway one, and I just got to do it. And I got to say to myself, because I have lived in this world of consistency, which I think is another big part of the brand and what I'm putting out and how often. And, you know, I've got to say to once I break the ice, I have to, I'm this person who has this immense amount of responsibility in my life. I was raised like that as a boomer. If you say you're going to do it, you're going to do it. Mm-hmm. If I open my mouth and I go in and says, hey, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Who knows? Maybe it goes to be a 1 week thing. And then I can never travel, never go on vacation, never do anything, never even take a crap because.
Well, no, you can. You just got to plan ahead.
No shit. Yeah, I get it. It doesn't matter where I could possibly be, but I could still do the whatever day of the week it is. I want to do this so bad. I can't tell you. I think it's just part of the evolution of where I'm going. I got to do this. Because people come up to me and ask me all the time, what about this? What about it? People are asking me my opinions on stuff.
And that's a sign of expertise. When someone says, what do you think? That's one of the ultimate goals for me is when people are saying, what do you think? You know, you've got an opinion.
Oh, Jesus, I forgot to tell you this. A while back, Mark, a guy who's just starting a brand new company up. He's been on the show before. He's a great guy. I made him a proposal for Town Hall Academy. Since he was in startup mode, it was too rich for him. Well, I saw him Saturday and I went up to him. Great guy. And I said, hey, Pete, my For the Record, just really getting launched. What if I put a proposal together for you that was so affordable for you? He says, Carm, I want to be so much a part of your show because you really are shaking it. You're making it happen. I want to be attached to anything you're doing.
And that's a totally different chat to this time last year. I love that.
I know. And so here I am. Do I just say, hey, it's $50 a week, you know, and just let it go and see what happens? Because I got no sponsor now. So that pays for what? 1 week of Rick. I don't know.
Dude, do it $1,000 a month. See what happens.
It's too rich. Well, it's not too rich for him, but yeah, okay. I'm gonna play with it.
It's better to have the room to come down.
Exactly right.
You know that.
Oh, Carm, $50, piece of cake, and I go,
yeah,
seller's remorse.
It's like there's an old sketch. I will wrap after this. There's a sketch on the UK version of The Office where the main guy David Brent comes in and he's got a speaking gig and it's 300 quid for 2 hours. Or for an hour's work, and he walks to the reception. He says, "Right, okay, I'm going to need a roadie. You can come, 100 quid, 1 hour's work." And she just goes, "Right," and he instantly just goes, "Oh shit, should have got in at 50." And that's exactly it. Exactly it, all the time. Right, we'll stick a pin in it, team. But good work. Everyone's had a good week this week. Cam, keep me posted if you don't mind on Federal Mogul and Napa and everything.
I'll let you know, man.
Please do. And Rick, keep me posted on how the new article goes. Send it over when it's ready.
Okay, cool.
All right, guys.
All right, take care.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.